4 armed men, 1 split-second decision, and a pursuit that would leave an entire city stunned. On a fog-draped evening outside Chicago's most exclusive hotel, a humble single dad finishing his security shift witnesses the unthinkable, a brazen abduction of one of the world's most powerful women. What happens next defies every expectation. A father who lives paycheck to paycheck, a billionaire CEO who controls empires, and a tech genius teenager with an extraordinary gift are thrust into a dangerous race against time through shadowy streets. Abandoned buildings and a conspiracy that reaches far beyond a simple kidnapping. What begins as a violent crime transforms into a heart-stirring journey of unexpected courage, trust, and the life-changing power of showing up when it matters most. This is the story of how strangers became heroes and how one man's relentless pursuit proved that true strength isn't measured by wealth or status, but by the willingness to act when everyone else looks away. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The fog rolled through downtown Chicago like a living thing, turning the October evening into a world of muted colors and hushed sounds. Streetlights became fuzzy amber halos, and the famous skyline seemed to float somewhere beyond reality. To most people hurrying along Michigan Avenue, the mist was an inconvenience. But to Trevor Maxwell, it was just another layer of the city he'd come to know in all its moods. Trevor adjusted the collar of his Navy security uniform and checked his watch for the 3rd time in 10 minutes. His shift at the Pinnacle Azure Hotel was supposed to end at 8, but his supervisor had called in sick, which meant another 2 hours manning the front entrance. He didn't mind the overtime pay, not really. Every extra dollar went straight into the fund he and his daughter Lily were building. College wasn't going to pay for itself, and neither were the coding workshops she'd been begging to attend. At 14, Lily had already taught herself 3 programming languages and was working on her 4th. She had a way with technology that seemed almost magical, like she could speak to computers in their own secret dialect. Teachers called her gifted. Trevor called her his miracle. After losing his wife Sarah to cancer 3 years ago, Lily had become his anchor, his reason to keep moving forward when grief threatened to pull him under. The hotel entrance was quiet tonight. Most guests had already checked in or were dining in the acclaimed restaurant on the 23rd floor. The Pinnacle Azure catered to a specific clientele, celebrities who valued discretion, executives sealing multi-million-dollar deals, occasionally even royalty traveling incognito. Trevor had worked here for 18 months and had learned to recognize power when he saw it. It moved differently, spoke differently, expected the world to bend around it rather than the other way around. His phone buzzed. A text from Lily, who was studying in the hotel's guest lounge where Trevor could keep an eye on her during his extended shifts. "Dad, I cracked the encryption algorithm for my CS project. Mr. Patterson is going to flip. Also, I'm hungry. Can we get tacos after your shift?" Trevor smiled, thumbs moving quickly across the screen. "Proud of you, sweetheart. Tacos are a definite yes." 1 more hour. He slipped the phone back into his pocket and resumed his position by the glass doors. Through the fog, he could see the valet stand where 2 attendants chatted quietly, their breath visible in the cool air. A black town car idled. At the curb, its driver reading something on his phone. Normal, routine, safe, but Trevor had learned long ago that normal could shatter in an instant. His military training, the years he'd spent as a Marine before an injury ended his active service, had taught him to notice details. The way someone walked could tell you if they were confident or afraid. A glance held too long meant interest, curiosity, or threat. The position of a hand near a pocket could signal nervousness or concealment. Even now, working a civilian job in a tailored uniform, those instincts never fully shut off. A flicker of movement caught his attention. 4 men emerged from a white van that had pulled up across the street, partially obscured by the fog. Something about them set off alarm bells in Trevor's mind. They moved with purpose, but not the casual purpose of hotel guests. Their gazes swept the entrance, assessing, calculating. 3 wore dark jackets despite the mild weather. The 4th, taller and broader, kept his hands in his pockets. Trevor's muscles tensed. He shifted his weight almost imperceptibly, a stance that would let him move quickly if needed. Years of training had made such adjustments automatic. The hotel's revolving door turned, and a woman stepped out into the misty evening. Trevor recognized her immediately. Arliss Branville. He'd been briefed about her arrival earlier in the week. Billionaire CEO of Branville Technologies, a company that had revolutionized renewable energy storage and employed over 50,000 people across 3 continents. Forbes had recently named her one of the most influential women in business. She was staying in the penthouse suite, and security had been instructed to ensure her privacy above all else. She looked different from her magazine photos. Smaller somehow, more human. She wore an elegant charcoal coat over what appeared to be business attire, her dark hair pulled back in a simple style. She was speaking on her phone, her expression focused but not unkind. A leather briefcase hung from her shoulder. "The Singapore deal is solid," she was saying as she moved toward the waiting town car. "Tell Davidson I want the contracts on my desk by Friday morning, no extensions." The valet stepped forward to open the car door for her, but something made Trevor look back at the 4 men across the street. They were moving now, crossing through the fog with sudden speed. Not running, but walking with the kind of determination that separated intention from coincidence. Every instinct Trevor possessed screamed danger. He moved away from his post, crossing the few yards to where Arliss stood. She was still on her phone, still focused on her conversation, unaware of the approaching threat. The valet had turned away to handle a tip from another guest. The driver remained in the car, oblivious. "Ma'am," Trevor said quietly, positioning himself between her and the street. She glanced at him with mild irritation, holding up one finger in a universal gesture for one moment. But they didn't have a moment. The 4 men reached the curb. Trevor's trained eye cataloged everything in a fraction of a second. Concealed weapons, almost certainly. Military-grade boots on 3 of them. The way they fanned out into a formation designed for rapid extraction. This wasn't a mugging. This was a planned abduction. The lead man, the tall one, locked eyes with Trevor for a split second. A moment of recognition passed between them, predator acknowledging obstacle. Then his hand moved toward his jacket. Trevor didn't think, he acted. 18 months of working hotel security hadn't dulled the reflexes honed by years of combat training. He grabbed Arliss's arm, interrupting her phone call. "Get inside, now." His tone carried absolute authority. The voice of someone used to being obeyed in crisis situations. Arliss's eyes widened in surprise and the beginning of anger, but Trevor was already pulling her toward the hotel entrance. Too late. The 4 men surged forward. The valet shouted something. Trevor heard the town car's engine roar to life as the driver belatedly recognized the threat. But the attackers moved with practiced efficiency. 2 of them intercepted Trevor, strong hands gripping his shoulders and arms. He struggled, but they were prepared, trained, and he was outnumbered. The tall man and his companion reached Arliss. She tried to scream, but a hand clamped over her mouth. Her briefcase fell to the ground, papers scattering in the fog. Her phone clattered against the pavement. "Let her go," Trevor shouted, fighting against the men holding him. He managed to break one's grip, landed a solid punch that sent the man stumbling backward. But the second attacker was already moving, and a third joined him. Trevor felt a sharp impact against his ribs, then another. They were dragging Arliss toward the white van. She kicked, fought, her eyes wide with terror. The whole thing had taken less than 15 seconds. Trevor wrenched himself partially free, driven by something deeper than training. This was happening on his watch. Under his protection. Not again. He couldn't fail to protect someone again. "Dad!" Lily's voice cut through the chaos. She had burst through the hotel doors, her laptop bag still over her shoulder, horror written across her young face. "Call 911, Trevor shouted at her. "Now!" The van's side door slid open. They were loading Orlis inside, her muffled screams barely audible. The tall man turned back toward Trevor, and for a moment, their eyes met again. Then he climbed into the van. One of the men holding Trevor released him with a hard shove that sent him sprawling onto the wet pavement. By the time he scrambled to his feet, the van was already pulling away into the fog, its taillights disappearing like red eyes in the mist. Trevor stood there, chest heaving, ribs aching, watching the most powerful woman in business vanish into the Chicago night. Around him, chaos erupted. The valet was shouting into his phone. Hotel staff poured out of the entrance. Someone screamed. Car horns blared. But Trevor's eyes remained fixed on the direction the van had taken. His mind was already moving, calculating, remembering the details. White van, no plates visible. 4 attackers, military precision. They'd known exactly when Orlis would exit the hotel. This was planned, coordinated, professional. Lily reached his side, her phone already at her ear speaking rapidly to emergency services. But Trevor barely heard her. Something had ignited inside him, something he'd thought he'd left behind years ago. The part of him that never stopped fighting, never accepted defeat, never let the mission fail. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Orlis Branville had approximately 30 seconds on them. Maybe less. Trevor looked at his daughter, then at the hotel entrance, then back at the fog-shrouded street. He had a choice to make. The safe choice was to wait for police, give a statement. Let trained professionals handle this, but professional criminals had just kidnapped a woman right in front of him. And every second mattered. Trevor Maxwell had spent 3 years learning to live with grief, learning to be gentle, learning to exist in a world of security shifts and parent-teacher conferences. But underneath that careful, quiet life, the soldier still remained, and that soldier was about to wake up. The hotel lobby exploded into controlled panic. Guests clustered near windows, phones raised to capture video. Staff members rushed to contain the situation, speaking in urgent whispers into radios and headsets. The hotel manager, a thin man named Whitmore with perfectly styled silver hair, appeared at Trevor's side within moments. "What happened? Are you injured? Should I call medical?" Trevor barely heard him. His eyes tracked the route the van had taken, his mind already running tactical calculations. Fog would slow them down. They'd have to navigate through downtown traffic even at this hour. If they were professionals, and they clearly were, they'd have a destination already planned. Somewhere they could hold a high-value target. Somewhere secure enough that her considerable resources couldn't immediately locate her. "Mr. Maxwell, I need you to answer me." Whitmore's voice sharpened with authority. "What exactly did you see?" Lily grabbed Trevor's arm, her face pale but her voice steady. She had inherited her mother's ability to stay calm in crisis. "Dad, the police are 3 minutes out. The operator wants a description." Trevor forced himself to focus. He gave Lily the details in rapid succession. White panel van, possibly a Ford Transit based on the profile, no visible plates, 4 male suspects, all approximately 6 feet tall, military-grade coordination. As he spoke, his hands checked his ribs where he'd taken hits. Bruised but not broken, the manager was speaking into his radio now, ordering all footage from exterior cameras to be preserved. "We have the Chief Operating Officer of Branville Technologies staying with us. This is a catastrophe. Security protocols should have prevented this." Something in those words triggered a thought in Trevor's mind. They'd known. The attackers had known exactly when Orlis would exit, which door, what time. Either they'd been watching for days, learning patterns, or someone had fed them information. The precision of the attack suggested the latter. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Red and blue lights began to strobe through the fog, painting the wet pavement in urgent colors. Trevor watched as 2 squad cars pulled up, followed seconds later by an unmarked sedan. Detectives already mobilized. Branville's kidnapping would have triggered every high-priority protocol the Chicago Police Department possessed. A woman emerged from the unmarked car, her badge already visible on her belt. Mid-40s, athletic build, eyes that missed nothing. She approached with the confident stride of someone who had handled 1,000 crime scenes. "I'm Detective Sarah Chun, who witnessed the abduction." "Chun." Trevor filed the name away. He stepped forward, Lily staying close to his side. "I did. I'm hotel security. Trevor Maxwell." Detective Chun's gaze swept over him, taking in his uniform, the emerging bruise on his jaw, the way he held himself. "You engaged with the suspects?" "Briefly. They were prepared. 4 men, coordinated extraction, probably military or private security background based on their movements. They took Orlis Branville into a white van and headed west on Superior Street." Chun's eyes sharpened. "How long ago?" Trevor checked his watch. 4 minutes, maybe 5. "Every unit in the vicinity is already searching," Chun said, speaking more to herself than to him. She turned to her partner, a younger detective who had just exited their vehicle. "Rodriguez, get this man's full statement. I want every detail." She looked back at Trevor. "You said military background. How can you be certain?" "Their formation, the way they moved as a unit, the discipline. These weren't street criminals. This was a planned operation." Chun nodded slowly, reassessing him. "And your background, Mr. Maxwell?" "Marine Corps. 6 years active duty before a medical discharge." Something shifted in Chun's expression. Respect, perhaps, or recognition of a fellow professional. "We're going to need everything you remember. Description, distinguishing features, vehicle details, anything they said." Trevor was about to respond when Lily's voice cut through. "Detective, I have something." Both adults turned to her. She had her laptop open, balanced on one arm with practiced ease, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The screen displayed what appeared to be a map with multiple colored dots moving across it. "What am I looking at?" Chun asked. "Traffic camera feeds," Lily said, not looking up from her work. "I wrote a program that aggregates public camera data across the city. It's supposed to be for a school project on urban traffic patterns, but I can adapt it." Her fingers never stopped moving. "White vans reported in the downtown area in the last 6 minutes." Chun stared at the teenager, then at Trevor. "Is she serious?" "Always," Trevor said quietly. Pride mixed with concern in his voice. This was exactly the kind of brilliant, reckless thing Lily would do. "There." Lily pointed at the screen. "White panel van, no visible plates, heading west on Superior 4 minutes ago, turned south on Franklin. Last confirmed sighting was 3 blocks from here, but the traffic cameras have a gap in coverage around the old warehouse district near Ashland Avenue." Detective Chun leaned closer to the screen. "Can you track where they went after Franklin?" "Working on it. The fog is making visual identification harder, and not all cameras are accessible through public feeds. But I can try to extrapolate based on likely routes." Lily's face scrunched in concentration. "If I were kidnapping someone and wanted to avoid main roads, I'd use the industrial corridor. Less traffic, fewer witnesses, multiple exits to highway access." Chun looked at Trevor with new intensity. "Your daughter?" "Yes. She always like this?" "Only when she's showing off," Trevor said, his tone fond despite the circumstances. "Usually she's much worse." Lily shot him a quick smile, but it faded as she continued her work. More police units were arriving now. The street had transformed into a command center. Officers cordoned off the area with yellow tape. Crime scene techs began documenting evidence. Orlis's scattered papers, her phone with its cracked screen. Scuff marks on the pavement where the struggle had occurred. Trevor watched it all with growing frustration. Every minute that passed was another minute Orlis spent in the hands of criminals. He knew how these things worked. The first hours were critical. After that, trails went cold. Kidnappers moved to secondary locations. Negotiation became the only option. Detective Chun was speaking into her radio, coordinating with other units, but Trevor could hear the edge in her voice. They had no leads beyond what he'd provided. A white van in fog-shrouded Chicago was like trying to find a specific raindrop in a storm. Detective. Lily's voice held a note of excitement. I think I found something. Chun returned to the laptop screen. Lily had pulled up what looked like satellite imagery combined with street-level data. This warehouse, Lily tapped the screen, at the intersection of Ashland and Thomas. It's been vacant for 2 years, but someone paid the electricity bill 3 months ago. Look at the power consumption data from the utility company. She pulled up another window. It's minimal but consistent. Someone is using that location but trying not to draw attention. How did you access utility records? Chun asked carefully. Lily's expression became carefully neutral. I have a very good understanding of database architecture. And before you ask, I didn't hack anything illegal. I'm using publicly available data combined with open source intelligence techniques. Trevor put a hand on his daughter's shoulder. Lily, I'm helping, she said firmly. Chun studied the girl for a long moment, then made a decision. Rodriguez, get me building records for that address. Check for recent activity, purchases, anything unusual. And get a tactical team ready for deployment. As her partner moved away, making calls, Chun turned back to Trevor. I assume you want to be involved in whatever happens next. It wasn't really a question. Trevor met her eyes steadily. That woman was taken on my watch, while I was supposed to be protecting her. Yes, I want to be involved. You're a civilian security guard, Mr. Maxwell. This is a police matter now. Maxwell, this is a police matter now. I understand that. But I also understand that you don't have time to waste. I can identify the suspects. I know their patterns, their tactics. And I got a good look at the van's interior when they opened the door. I can help. Chun weighed her options. Trevor could see the calculation happening behind her eyes. Technically, she should keep him at a distance, take his statement, send him home. But she was also pragmatic enough to recognize an asset when she saw one. If I let you ride along, you follow my orders exactly. No hero moves, no taking initiative. You're an observer only. Understood? Understood. And the laptop genius stays here with uniformed officers. No way. Lily's voice was sharp. If you're tracking them through the city, you need real-time data analysis. I can provide that. Your department's tech support can't move as fast as I can. You're 14, Chun said flatly. And I'm better at this than anyone on your payroll, Lily countered with absolute confidence. Also, my dad is going into a dangerous situation. I'm not sitting in a hotel lobby wondering if he's going to come back. Trevor heard the catch in her voice on those last words. The fear underneath the bravado. She'd already lost one parent. The thought of losing another was unbearable. Chun looked between father and daughter, then sighed. This is probably going to end my career. She pointed at Lily. You stay in the vehicle at all times. If shooting starts, you get on the floor. If I tell you to disconnect and stop tracking, you disconnect immediately. Clear? Lily nodded solemnly. Clear. Then let's move. Rodriguez, you're driving. Maxwell, you're with me. As they headed toward the unmarked sedan, Trevor caught Lily's hand. You didn't have to do this. Yes, I did, she said quietly. That woman needs help, and you need backup. Even if it's just a teenager with a laptop. Trevor pulled her into a quick hug. You're not just anything. You're everything. They climbed into the sedan. Rodriguez started the engine, lights flashing. Other units were already mobilizing, forming a convoy. Chun was on her radio, coordinating the response, her voice crisp and professional. Trevor stared out at the fog-shrouded streets as they pulled away from the hotel. Somewhere in this city, Arliss Brandval was terrified, possibly hurt. Definitely wondering if anyone would find her in time. They had maybe 30 minutes before the kidnappers relocated or the situation escalated beyond recovery. 30 minutes to find a needle in a haystack the size of Chicago. But Trevor had Lily's brilliant mind working the problem. He had Detective Chun's authority and resources. And he had his own skills, rusty perhaps but not forgotten. The pursuit had begun. And Trevor Maxwell had no intention of stopping until Arliss Brandval was safe. The sedan's tires hissed on wet pavement as they accelerated into the fog. Behind them, the lights of the Pinnacle Azure Hotel faded into the mist. Ahead, somewhere in the urban labyrinth, a woman's life hung in the balance. Trevor's hands clenched into fists. The soldier he'd tried to leave behind had fully awakened. Now, and this mission had just begun. The sedan cut through Chicago's fog-draped streets with urgent purpose. Sirens wailing, lights painting the mist in strobing red and blue. Trevor sat in the passenger seat, his training resurfacing with every passing second. Beside him in the back, Lily's fingers flew across her keyboard, eyes locked on the screen's glow. "Talk to me," Detective Chun commanded, one hand on the wheel, the other holding her radio. "What am I driving into?" Lily's voice remained steady despite the vehicle's speed. The warehouse at Ashland and Thomas was originally built for textile manufacturing in the 1980s. It's been through 3 owners since then. Current owner is a shell company registered in Delaware. That's suspicious on its own, but it gets worse. I cross-referenced the company's formation date with Brandval Technologies' recent corporate moves. And? Chun took a corner hard, the sedan's tires protesting. 3 weeks ago, Brandval Technologies announced they were canceling a major defense contract. The company that lost the deal, Steinberg Global Solutions, has connections to the same law firm that registered the shell company owning the warehouse. Trevor turned to look at his daughter. "How did you find that?" "Public sec filings, corporate registration databases, and about 6 different search algorithms running simultaneously." Lily didn't look up. "I may have also borrowed some processing power from the university's computer lab. They don't monitor off-hours access very carefully." Chun shook her head in disbelief. "Remind me to hire you when you graduate." "I'm planning on MIT, but I'll keep you in mind," Lily said. The radio crackled. Rodriguez's voice came through. "Detective, tactical team is 2 minutes behind us. They're requesting we hold position and wait for their arrival before approaching the target location." Chun's jaw tightened. "Negative. We maintain pursuit. Every second counts with kidnapping cases. Tactical can catch up." Trevor understood her decision, even as it increased the risk. Standard protocol would dictate waiting for backup, establishing a perimeter, negotiating if possible. But Arliss wasn't a standard case. She was a billionaire CEO. If this was corporate warfare dressed up as kidnapping, her captors might not be interested in ransom. They might have other plans entirely. The thought sent a chill through him. 2 blocks out, Chun announced. She killed the siren but left the lights running. "Maxwell, I meant what I said. Your observation only. You point out suspects if you see them, but you do not engage. Are we clear?" "Clear," Trevor agreed, though they both knew that in a fluid tactical situation, plans changed quickly. Lily tapped her screen. "Hold on, I'm getting something strange." The power consumption at the warehouse just spiked. Someone turned on high-draw equipment. Industrial lights, maybe, or heavy machinery. Could they be destroying evidence? Rodriguez asked from the back seat. Or preparing to move her, Trevor said grimly. If they think we're close, they'll relocate fast. Chun pressed harder on the accelerator. The warehouse district materialized through the fog like something from an urban ghost story. Abandoned buildings loomed on either side, their broken windows like empty eyes. Graffiti-covered walls. Chain-link fences sagged into piles of rust. This was Chicago's forgotten zone, the space between development and decay where nothing good happened after dark. There, Trevor pointed. Ahead, partially obscured by mist, sat a large brick structure with a corrugated metal roof. One section had collapsed years ago, giving the building a wounded appearance. But near the intact loading dock, a single security light burned, and beneath it sat a white panel van. That's them, Trevor said with certainty. Same van. Same profile. Chun slowed the vehicle, pulling into an alley 50 yards from the warehouse. She killed the lights and grabbed her radio. All units, we have visual confirmation on the target vehicle. Approaching on foot. Tactical team, what's your ETA? 90 seconds, detective. Copy that. Rodriguez, you're with me. Maxwell, stay with the girl and the vehicle. Lock the doors. But as Chun and Rodriguez exited the sedan, weapons drawn, Trevor made his decision. He turned to Lily, his voice low and urgent. I need you to do exactly what I say. Stay here, doors locked, engine running. If shooting starts, you drive away. Don't wait for me. Don't hesitate. You get to safety and call for help. Understand? Lily's eyes widened. Dad, you said you were just observing. Plans change. That woman in there doesn't have time for tactical teams and negotiations. She needs help now. Trevor gripped his daughter's shoulders. I can't sit here knowing someone is in danger and I did nothing. You know that about me. You've always known that. Tears welled in Lily's eyes. You promised you'd come back. After Mom, you promised. The words hit him like a physical blow. He had promised. 3 years ago, standing beside a hospital bed, holding Sarah's hand as she took her last breath. He'd promised to take care of Lily, to be there, to never leave her alone. I intend to keep that promise, Trevor said firmly. But right now, keeping it means being the person your mother fell in love with. The person who stands up when others need help. Can you trust me? Lily wiped her eyes, nodded once. Be careful, please. Trevor kissed her forehead, then slipped out of the vehicle. The fog wrapped around him immediately, cold and damp. He could see Chun and Rodriguez moving toward the warehouse's main entrance, using abandoned equipment for cover. Their approach was professional, careful, by the book, but Trevor saw what they didn't. A side door, partially hidden by shadows, stood slightly ajar. A secondary exit, or perhaps an entrance the kidnappers had left open for quick escape. The fog worked in his favor now, concealing his approach as he moved parallel to the detectives. Path but toward the side entrance. Military training guided his steps. He moved with practiced silence, using the fog and shadows, keeping low, minimizing his profile. His ribs ached where he'd been hit, but adrenaline pushed the pain to the background. Every sense sharpened. The smell of rust and oil. The sound of water dripping somewhere. The distant rumble of an elevated train. He reached the side door and pressed himself against the wall beside it. Through the gap, he could hear voices. Male, speaking in low tones. Then another voice, female, defiant even in captivity, orless. Defiant even in captivity, orless. Trevor eased the door open another inch, peering inside. The warehouse interior was vast, mostly empty except for industrial debris scattered across a concrete floor. Old machinery. Broken pallets. Chains hanging from overhead rafts. And in the center, illuminated by harsh work lights someone had set up. Orlis Branville sat in a metal chair, her hands bound behind her. The 4 kidnappers stood nearby. 3 faced outward, alert, weapons visible now. The 4th, the tall leader, spoke on a phone, his back to Orlis. "I don't care about complications," he was saying. "The client wants confirmation she's neutralized, permanently. We don't have time for extended negotiations." Trevor's blood ran cold. This wasn't a ransom situation. They planned to kill her. He scanned the space, calculating angles and distances. 4 armed suspects. 20 yards to Orlis's position. Multiple obstacles providing cover, but also limiting movement. Detective Chun and Rodriguez would breach through the main entrance soon, but the kidnappers would hear them coming. Orlis would be caught in the crossfire. Trevor needed to change the tactical situation before that. His hand found a piece of metal debris near the door. He weighed it, testing the balance, then made his choice. He threw the metal hard to the far side of the warehouse. It struck something with a loud clang that echoed through the vast space. All 4 kidnappers turned toward the sound. The leader barked an order. 2 of them moved to investigate, weapons raised. Trevor slipped inside. He moved fast, using the cover of machinery and shadows, closing the distance to Orlis. She saw him coming, her eyes widening, but she had the presence of mind to remain silent. 20 yards became 15, became 10. The tall leader was still on his phone, focused on his conversation. The 4th kidnapper stood nearby but was watching his companions investigate the noise. 5 yards. Trevor launched himself forward, covering the final distance in a rush. His shoulder hit the 4th kidnapper in the back, sending the man sprawling. Trevor didn't stop. He reached Orlis, his hands already working on the zip ties binding her wrists. "Don't talk," he whispered urgently. "Just trust me." Recognition flashed in her eyes. The hotel security guard. The man who'd tried to warn her. The zip ties snapped. Trevor pulled her to her feet, just as shouts erupted behind them. The leader had seen them. The other kidnappers were running back. "Move!" Trevor pushed Orlis toward the side door he'd entered through. Gunfire erupted. The crack of weapons discharging in the enclosed space was deafening. Trevor felt the air move as bullets passed close. He shielded Orlis with his body, pushing her forward, using the machinery as cover. Then Chun's voice boomed from the main entrance. "Chicago Police, drop your weapons." The warehouse exploded into chaos. More gunfire, shouting. The tactical situation had gone completely fluid. Trevor kept moving, half carrying Orlis now as they reached the side door. Behind them, one of the kidnappers was pursuing, weapon raised. Trevor shoved Orlis through the door into the fog outside. "Run!" Then he turned to face their pursuer. The man was young, maybe 25, with cold eyes and military bearing. He raised his weapon, finger tightening on the trigger. Trevor moved on pure instinct. Years of combat training took over. He closed the distance before the man could fire, deflected the weapon with one hand, drove his other elbow into the man's throat. The kidnapper gasped, stumbled backward. Trevor disarmed him with a practiced twist, then delivered a precise strike that sent the man crashing to the ground, unconscious. More gunfire from inside. Chun was engaged with the other suspects. Trevor grabbed the captured weapon, safed it, then burst through the door into the fog. "Orlis!" He called out, "Here!" Her voice came from nearby. He found her crouched behind a dumpster, breathing hard, her elegant coat torn and dirty, but her eyes fierce with determination. "Are you hurt?" "No, terrified, but not hurt. You?" "I've had worse days." Trevor checked the weapon he'd taken, then looked back at the warehouse. "We need to get you clear. Police are inside, but until they secure those suspects, you're not safe." Orlis studied him with new intensity. "Who are you?" "Trevor Maxwell. I work security at your hotel." Or I did. I'm probably fired now. Despite everything, she almost smiled. Somehow I doubt that. Come on. They moved through the fog together, Trevor guiding them away from the warehouse toward where he'd left the sedan. Behind them, the sounds of confrontation continued. Sirens wailed in the distance as more units arrived. They rounded a corner and found Lily still in the vehicle, engine running, her face pressed against the window watching for them. When she saw Trevor, relief flooded her features. Trevor pulled open the door. Lily, meet Arliss Branville. Arliss, my daughter Lily. The girl with the laptop who found me, Arliss said, sliding into the back seat. Thank you. Lily managed a shaky smile. You're welcome. Dad, are you okay? Better now. Trevor climbed in, his body finally registering the full catalog of injuries. Bruised ribs, a cut on his forehead he didn't remember getting, hands scraped from the fight. But alive, whole, Detective Chun's voice crackled over the police radio in the dash. Maxwell, if you can hear this, all 4 suspects are in custody. I repeat, suspects are secured. Where's our victim? Trevor picked up the radio. She's safe. With me and my daughter. We're clear of the building. Stay put. Ambulance is en route. Trevor set down the radio and turned to look at Arliss. She sat in the back seat, still breathing hard, her business facade cracking to reveal the fear and shock underneath. She'd come within minutes of death. The realization was settling over her now that the immediate danger had passed. You saved my life, she said quietly. You didn't have to pursue them. You could have let the police handle it. Couldn't do that, Trevor said simply. Not when I knew every second mattered. Lily leaned forward from the driver's seat. He's like that. It's annoying sometimes, but mostly it's just who he is. Arliss looked between father and daughter, seeing the bond, the trust, the shared strength. I research people for a living, she said. It's how I've built my company. I can usually read someone in the first 5 minutes of meeting them. But you, she met Trevor's eyes. You're different. You're extraordinary, and you don't even realize it. Trevor felt uncomfortable under her scrutiny. I just did what needed doing. No, Arliss said firmly. You did what almost nobody else would have done. You risked your life for a stranger. You trusted your daughter's intelligence when others would have dismissed her because of her age. You made impossible decisions in impossible situations. She paused. That's not ordinary, Trevor Maxwell. That's remarkable. Before Trevor could respond, emergency vehicles surrounded them. Paramedics, more police units, even news vans already somehow alerted to the story. The fog swirled with flashing lights and urgent voices as they prepared to give statements. To be checked by medical personnel, to step into the machinery of official response. Trevor caught Lily's hand. You did good tonight, he told her. Your mom would be so proud. We did good, Lily corrected. Together. Arliss watched them, something shifting in her expression. Gratitude, certainly, but also something deeper. Recognition, perhaps, of having witnessed something rare. A father and daughter who moved through crisis with absolute trust in each other. A kind of partnership built on love and tested by tragedy. The warehouse behind them was now flooded with police. The kidnappers were being loaded into vehicles, their plan foiled, their freedom ended. And Arliss Branville, one of the most powerful women in the world, sat safely in a sedan protected by a security guard who earned barely enough to cover rent, and his brilliant daughter who could have hacked her way into MIT. If she wanted, the intervention was complete. The immediate danger had passed, but Trevor sensed this was only the beginning of something much larger. The questions that would follow, the investigation into who had hired the kidnappers and why. The unraveling of corporate conspiracy that Lily had glimpsed in her data analysis, and most unexpectedly, the connection forming between 3 people who should have remained strangers, but who fate had bound together through fog and danger and extraordinary courage. Detective Chun approached the vehicle, exhaustion and satisfaction mixing on her face. "Well," she said, "that was not even remotely by the book. But you saved a life tonight, Mr. Maxwell. Multiple lives, probably. I'll need detailed statements from all of you, but first, let's get you checked out." As they emerged from the sedan into the controlled chaos of the scene, Trevor felt Orlis's hand briefly touch his arm. "This isn't over," she said quietly. "Someone wanted me dead badly enough to plan this carefully. They'll try again. And when they do, I'm going to need people I can trust around me. People like you and Lily." Trevor started to protest, to say he was just security, just a single dad trying to make ends meet. But the words died in his throat, because he saw the same thing Lily had seen hours ago, when she decided to help track a white van through Chicago. Sometimes ordinary people were called to do extraordinary things. And sometimes saying yes to that call changed everything. The pursuit had ended. But the real story was just beginning. The emergency room at Northwestern Memorial Hospital hummed with controlled urgency. Trevor sat on an examination table while a doctor checked his ribs, prodding carefully at the bruising that had blossomed across his torso in shades of purple and yellow. Lily occupied a chair nearby, her laptop balanced on her knees, still working even as nurses moved past. "Bruised but not fractured," the doctor announced. "You're lucky. Another inch to the left and we'd be looking at internal bleeding. I want you to rest for at least 3 days. No strenuous activity." Trevor nodded, already knowing he wouldn't follow that advice completely. Across the curtain partition, he could hear Orlis speaking with Detective Chun, her voice steady now, the shock receding into determination. When the doctor left, Lily looked up from her screen. "Dad, I've been digging into Steinberg Global Solutions, the company that lost the defense contract to Brandville Technologies. And they're not just upset about losing money. The contract was worth $800 million over 5 years. But it's worse than that. Steinberg's CEO, a man named Patrick Bowen, has been accused twice of corporate espionage. Both cases were settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements." Trevor's jaw tightened. So this wasn't about ransom. It was about eliminating competition. Exactly. If Orlis died, the contract might be reconsidered. Or at minimum, Brandville Technologies would be thrown into chaos during the succession fight. Either way, Steinberg benefits. The curtain pulled back and Orlis stepped through, now wearing hospital scrubs since her torn clothes had been taken as evidence. Despite the unglamorous attire, she still carried herself with commanding presence. Detective Chun followed, her expression grim. "Mr. Maxwell," Orlis said formally, then stopped. "Actually, can I call you Trevor? After everything that's happened, formality seems absurd." "Trevor is fine." She sat on the empty chair beside Lily, wincing slightly. "Detective Chun tells me the men who took me are refusing to talk. They lawyered up immediately. Professional criminals who know how the system works." Chun crossed her arms. "We're building a case, but it'll take time. The white van was stolen. The weapons were untraceable. Even the warehouse was rented through so many shell companies that unraveling the ownership will take weeks. Whoever planned this knew how to cover their tracks." "Steinberg Global Solutions," Lily said quietly. All 3 adults turned to her. She rotated her laptop screen to show them a complex web of corporate connections she'd mapped. "Patrick Bowen is careful, but he's not perfect. Look at the money trail. 6 weeks ago, a subsidiary of Steinberg made a payment to a security consulting firm called Garrison Protection Services. That same firm employs 3 of the 4 men who kidnapped you." Chun leaned forward, studying the screen with new intensity. "How did you find this?" "Corporate filings, employment records, and cross-referencing social media profiles. The 4th man doesn't work for Garrison officially, but his brother does. Family connection. Lily looked at Orlis. They wanted you dead, and they almost succeeded. Silence fell over the small space. The implications were staggering. A major corporation attempting murder to secure a government contract. The kind of corruption that would make headlines for months if proven. Orlis stood, pacing the small area. I've spent 15 years building my company on integrity and innovation. I've made enemies, certainly. You don't become successful without stepping on toes. But I never imagined someone would go this far. The question is, Trevor said, what happens now? You can't go back to your normal life. If Bowen was willing to try once, he'll try again. Especially now that his first attempt failed. I have security, Orlis began. Who didn't stop 4 men from grabbing you outside your hotel? Trevor interrupted gently. No offense to your team, but clearly there are gaps in your protection. Chun nodded agreement. He's right. Until we can build a prosecutable case against Bowen, you're vulnerable. I can provide police protection, but our resources are stretched thin. We can't maintain a 24-hour detail indefinitely. Orlis looked at Trevor, her gray eyes assessing. What would you suggest? The question hung in the air. Trevor knew what she was really asking. He could return to his security job at the hotel, collect his modest paycheck, keep his head down. The safe choice. The smart choice for a single father with a daughter to raise, or he could step into something far more complicated and dangerous. You need people around you who think differently than typical security. Trevor said carefully. People who can anticipate unconventional threats. Lily's already proven she can track digital footprints that others miss. I know how attackers think, how they plan. Together, we might be able to identify threats before they materialize. You're proposing what, exactly? Orlis asked, though her expression suggested she already knew. A partnership. Temporary, until the threat is neutralized. We work together to expose Bowen's involvement and ensure you stay safe long enough to see justice done. Lily's fingers had stopped moving on her keyboard. She watched her father with a mixture of pride and concern. This was the man her mother had married, the one who couldn't walk past someone in need. But it was also the choice that would put them both in danger. Lily, Orlis said gently, how do you feel about this? The teenager considered carefully before answering. Someone tried to kill you. They're probably planning to try again. And the police, no offense Detective Chun, have to work within a system that moves slowly. We don't. She looked at her father. If we can help, we should. Chun shook her head, but Trevor saw the hint of a smile. This is irregular. Actually, it's beyond irregular. It's potentially illegal depending on what you 3 get into. Then it's good you don't know the details, Orlis said smoothly. She extended her hand to Trevor. I'm offering you a position as my personal security consultant. Generous salary, full benefits, and a consulting fee for your daughter's technical expertise. Everything legal and above board. Trevor looked at her offered hand, then at Lily's encouraging nod, then at Detective Chun's resigned expression. He shook Orlis's hand. Then I guess we're partners. Partners, Orlis agreed. Now let's figure out how to take down a corrupt billionaire before he gets another chance to come after me. The alliance was formed. 3 unlikely collaborators bound by necessity, courage, and a shared commitment to justice. Outside the hospital, dawn was breaking over Chicago, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. A new chapter had begun. And this time, they wouldn't be caught off guard. Orlis's corporate apartment occupied the top floor of a building overlooking Millennium Park. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered spectacular views of the Chicago skyline. But today, heavy curtains remained drawn. Security came before scenery. Trevor walked the perimeter for the 3rd time, checking sightlines and access points. The building had excellent security, but excellent wasn't the same as impenetrable. He made mental notes of vulnerabilities, The service elevator lacked camera coverage on 2 floors. The roof access was controlled by a simple keypad. The parking garage had blind spots where someone could wait undetected. Lily had commandeered the dining table, transforming it into a command center. 3 laptops ran simultaneously, screens filled with data streams, financial records, and surveillance footage she'd obtained through methods Trevor chose not to examine too closely. Coffee? Arliss emerged from the kitchen, carrying a tray with 3 mugs. She'd changed into casual clothes, jeans and a sweater, looking more like a graduate student than a billionaire CEO. Thanks. Trevor accepted a mug, noting how steady her hands were. The trauma of yesterday's kidnapping hadn't broken her. If anything, she seemed energized by purpose. Lily didn't look up from her screens. I found something disturbing. Patrick Bowen didn't just lose 1 contract to you. Over the past 3 years, Brandville Technologies has outbid or outperformed Steinberg on 6 major projects. Combined value of almost $2 billion. Competition, Arliss said, sitting down beside her. That's how the industry works. Sure, but look at the pattern. Every time Steinberg was positioned to win, something happened. A technical innovation from Brandville. A sudden price reduction. It's like you always knew their strategy before they implemented it. Trevor caught the implication. You think there's a mole? Someone feeding Arliss information from inside Steinberg? Or, Lily said carefully, someone thinks there is. Which from Bowen's perspective amounts to the same thing. He believes he's being sabotaged. That's why he escalated to violence. Arliss's expression darkened. But I haven't been stealing information. I don't operate that way. My company succeeds because we innovate faster and work harder, not because we cheat. I believe you, Lily said. But Bowen doesn't. And I found communication suggesting he's been building a case for corporate espionage against you. Nothing he could take to court, but enough to convince himself he's the victim. Trevor set down his coffee. So we're dealing with someone who sees himself as justified. That makes him more dangerous, not less. He won't stop because he believes he's fighting back. The apartment intercom buzzed. All 3 tensed. Trevor moved to the panel, hand instinctively reaching for the weapon Detective Chun had reluctantly authorized him to carry. Ms. Brandville? The voice belonged to the building's doorman. You have a visitor. A Mr. Damian Pierce from Steinberg Global Solutions. He says it's urgent. Trevor and Arliss exchanged glances. The enemy was coming to them. Send him up, Arliss said calmly. But alert building security. Have them monitor the hallway. As they waited, Trevor positioned himself near the door while Lily quickly closed her most sensitive data streams. When the knock came, Trevor checked the peephole first, then opened the door with one hand near his concealed weapon. Damian Pierce was younger than expected. Maybe 35, wearing an expensive suit and carrying a leather briefcase. He looked nervous. Ms. Brandville, thank you for seeing me. I know this is unexpected. His eyes flicked to Trevor, registering the protective stance. I'm not here to cause trouble. Actually, I'm here to prevent it. Come in, Arliss said. But keep your hands visible. Pierce entered slowly, setting his briefcase on the floor as instructed. I work in Steinberg's legal department. Or I did until this morning when I resigned. I couldn't be part of what's happening anymore. What is happening? Arliss asked. Pierce glanced at Lily, uncertain. Arliss made the introduction. Lily Maxwell, my technical consultant. She has full clearance. Speak freely. Patrick Bowen has lost his mind, Pierce said bluntly. The kidnapping yesterday? That was supposed to be intimidation, not murder. At least that's what I was told when I helped arrange the initial logistics. I thought we were sending a message, scaring you into backing off some contracts. When I learned what actually happened, that they intended to kill you, I knew I had to get out. Trevor studied the man carefully. Either he was telling the truth, or he was an exceptional actor. You're admitting to conspiracy. I'm trying to do the right thing, finally, Pierce said. I brought evidence. He gestured to his briefcase. Communications between Bowen and the men he hired. Financial records showing payments. Everything you'd need to prosecute him. Lily carefully retrieved the briefcase, opened it at the table, and began photographing documents with her phone. Her expression grew more serious with each page. This is substantial, she said quietly. Bowen didn't just hire those men for yesterday. He's been planning operations against Branville Technologies for 8 months. Sabotage, data theft attempts, intimidation of employees. Yesterday was just the escalation. Orlis's face had gone pale. 8 months? How did I not know? Because I buried it, Pierce admitted. That was my job. Make problems disappear through legal maneuvering and intimidation. I convinced myself it was just aggressive business tactics. But murder crosses a line I can't uncross. Trevor kept his focus on Pierce. Why come here? Why not go straight to police? Because Bowen has connections. Prosecutors who owe him favors, judges he's contributed to. If I go through normal channels, this evidence might disappear into bureaucracy for years. But if you have it, if it's public knowledge that multiple people know the truth, then he can't make it vanish. He'll have to face consequences. It made sense. Dangerous sense. If Pierce was legitimate, this was the breakthrough they needed. If he was a plant, designed to feed them false information or lead them into a trap, it could destroy everything. Orlis made her decision. Lily, copy everything. Multiple backups, different locations. Then we call Detective Chun and turn over the originals. Already on it, Lily said, her fingers flying. Pierce sagged slightly, relief evident. Thank you. I know I don't deserve forgiveness for my part in this. But maybe this helps balance the scales. Maybe, Orlis said coldly. We'll see what the evidence shows. As Lily worked, Trevor's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Pierce is legitimate, but he's being tracked. Black sedan, 2 men, parked outside your building. Chun. Trevor showed the message to Orlis, then turned to Pierce. Did anyone follow you here? I don't think so. I was careful. Careful isn't the same as clean, Trevor said. He moved to the window, carefully parting the curtain. There, 3 floors down, a black sedan idled a curb. 2 figures sat inside, watching the building entrance. We have company, Trevor announced. And I don't think they're here to apologize. The deeper threat had revealed itself. Bowen wasn't retreating. He was escalating. And the next confrontation was minutes away. The black sedan below remained motionless, but Trevor knew that stillness was temporary. Whoever sat inside was making calculations, deciding their next move. He recognized predator patience when he saw it. Lily, how long until the files are backed up? 2 minutes, maybe 3. Her fingers never stopped moving across the keyboard. Her young face set with concentration. Orlis stood beside Pierce, her phone already dialing. I'm calling building security. They can lock down the elevators. Do it, Trevor agreed. But those men won't wait for us to fortify our position. They'll move soon, and they'll move hard. As if responding to his words, both car doors opened. 2 men emerged, both wearing dark suits that did nothing to conceal their athletic builds. They didn't look up at the windows. They simply walked toward the building entrance with purposeful strides. Pierce's face had gone white. Those are Bowen's personal security team. I've seen them before. They don't ask questions, they just follow orders. Then we need to not be here when they arrive, Trevor said. He turned to Orlis. Is there another way out of this apartment? Service entrance through the kitchen. It connects to the freight elevator. That's our exit. Lily, grab your laptop. Leave everything else. Lily was already closing her computers, unplugging cables with practiced efficiency. Files are uploaded to 3 different cloud servers. Even if they destroy the physical evidence, we have copies. The apartment phone rang. Building security. Orlis answered, listened for 5 seconds, then hung up. They're in the lobby. They claimed to be federal agents and showed credentials. Security let them through. Fake badges, Pierce said miserably. Bowen has connections who can produce those. Trevor made his decision. Everyone moves now. Kitchen, service exit, down the freight elevator to the parking garage. My car is on level 2. We get in, we drive out, we don't stop until we're somewhere secure. They moved as a group, Trevor leading, Pierce in the middle, Orlis and Lily bringing up the rear. The service corridor was narrow and utilitarian, a stark contrast to the luxury apartment. Emergency lighting cast everything in harsh shadows. The freight elevator took forever to arrive. Trevor counted the seconds, his combat instinct screaming at the vulnerability of their position. Trapped in a corridor with no cover, waiting for a slow elevator while armed men approached, the elevator dinged. Doors slid open. They crowded inside, and Trevor jabbed the parking garage button repeatedly, as if that would make it move faster. As the doors began to close, Trevor heard it. The main apartment door being forced open. Voices shouting. They'd been seconds away from contact. The elevator descended with agonizing slowness. Lily clutched her laptop bag, her earlier confidence replaced by visible fear. Orlis had one hand on the teenager's shoulder, offering silent support. Pierce looked like he might be sick. When we reached the garage, Trevor said quietly, we move fast but we don't run. Running attracts attention. We walk with purpose to my car, a blue Honda near the west exit. Lily, you get in the back seat with Orlis. Pierce, front passenger. Everyone stays low once we're moving. The elevator stopped. Level 2. The doors opened onto the concrete expanse of the parking garage. Overhead fluorescent lights hummed and flickered. The space smelled of exhaust and motor oil. About 30 cars were scattered across marked spaces. Trevor scanned quickly. No obvious threats. But the garage had multiple entry points, and those men would figure out their escape route quickly. Now, he said, and they moved. His Honda was exactly where he'd left it. Not fancy, not fast, but reliable. Trevor unlocked it remotely, and they climbed inside with the choreographed efficiency of people who understood urgency. Engine started. Headlights on. Trevor backed out of the space. That's when the black sedan appeared, roaring down the ramp from the upper level. It positioned itself to block the exit, tires squealing as it stopped. Hold on, Trevor said, and spun the wheel hard. He'd mapped the garage mentally during his earlier security assessment. There were 2 exits, and if the west was blocked, they'd use the east. He accelerated toward the opposite ramp, the Honda's engine protesting, but responding. Behind them, the black sedan reversed, turned, pursued. Trevor could see it in his rearview mirror, gaining ground because it had more horsepower than his modest vehicle. Dad! Lily's voice held terror. I know. Stay down. Trevor took a corner fast, tires protesting. The exit ramp spiraled upward. If they could reach street level, merge into traffic, they might lose their pursuers in the urban maze. The Honda burst onto the street, cutting off a taxi that honked furiously. Trevor didn't slow. He wove through traffic, making random turns, using every bit of defensive driving knowledge he possessed. The black sedan stayed with them, relentless. They're going to force us off the road, Pierce said, his voice shaking. Trevor's mind raced through options. They couldn't outrun their pursuers. They couldn't fight them, not with Lily and Orlis in the car. They needed help, backup, witnesses. Police station. If he could reach the district headquarters, their pursuers wouldn't dare follow inside. Everyone hold tight, Trevor said, and made a decision. He turned against traffic onto a one-way street. ignoring the horn blasts and shouted curses. The black sedan hesitated for one crucial second, then followed. But that second was enough. Trevor spotted what he needed. A busy intersection, red light, cross-traffic flowing. He accelerated straight through, threading between cars with inches to spare. Behind him, the black sedan tried to follow but got blocked by a delivery truck. Trevor made 3 more quick turns, then pulled into a hospital emergency bay. Cars and people everywhere, witnesses, safety in numbers. "Out," he commanded. "Inside the hospital, now." They scrambled from the Honda and rushed into the emergency room, where confused staff and patients stared at their wild entrance. Trevor pulled out his phone, called Detective Chun. "We have a situation," he said when she answered. "Bowen's men just tried to force us off the road. We're at Sacred Heart Hospital, East Entrance. We need protection. Stay put. I'm 10 minutes away." Trevor turned to his group. Lily had tears on her cheeks but was trying to hide them. Arliss looked shaken but determined. Pierce had slumped into a waiting room chair, head in his hands. "We made it," Trevor said quietly. "Everyone's safe." "For now," Arliss replied. "But this proves Pierce was right. Bowen isn't backing down. He's escalating." Trevor nodded grimly. They had evidence, they had witnesses, they had Detective Chun building the case. But they also had a desperate, powerful man willing to kill to protect his interests. The pursuit had intensified. The danger had multiplied. And somewhere in Chicago, Patrick Bowen was making his next move. Detective Chun arrived with 4 squad cars and enough firepower to make Trevor feel slightly safer. The hospital security office became their temporary command center, crowded with police personnel, monitors showing building camera feeds, and the tangible tension of people preparing for conflict. "Pierce's evidence is solid," Chun announced, setting down her phone. "The district attorney is preparing arrest warrants for Patrick Bowen and 6 associates. We're moving fast, but Bowen knows we're coming. He'll be desperate." "Desperate men do desperate things," Trevor said quietly. He stood near the window, watching the parking lot for threats. His ribs ached, his head throbbed, but adrenaline kept him moving. Lily sat at a desk, her laptop connected to the hospital's secure network. "I've been monitoring Steinberg's communications. Someone inside their company just purchased plane tickets to a country without extradition treaties. 3 seats, departing tonight from a private airfield." Arliss leaned over Lily's shoulder, studying the screen. "Bowen's running. If he leaves the country, we may never see justice." Chun's jaw tightened. "Where's this airfield?" "About 40 miles west. Small facility, mostly used by corporate jets. Security is minimal." Lily pulled up satellite imagery. 2 runways, 1 hangar, a small terminal building. "If you wanted to slip out of the country quietly, this would be the place." "Then we intercept him there," Chun said. She was already coordinating with her team, speaking into her radio with clipped efficiency. "Tactical units en route. Maxwell, you and your group stay here where it's secure." But Trevor was studying the satellite images with growing concern. "Detective, look at the approach. Open ground, no cover for at least 200 yards. If Bowen has security with him, and he will, your team will be exposed during the approach. It's a kill zone." Chun paused, reassessing. Trevor was right. A frontal assault on that airfield would be costly and dangerous. "What do you suggest?" she asked. Trevor traced a path on the screen. "Here, this maintenance road runs behind the hangar. It's used for fuel deliveries. If a small team could approach from that direction, while your main force creates a distraction at the front entrance, you could box him in. And I suppose you want to be part of that small team?" "I know Bowen's security patterns. Pierce gave us detailed information about his protection detail. I can identify them on site and predict their responses. You need me for this." Arliss touched Trevor's arm. You've done enough. Let the police handle it from here. If Bowen escapes, he'll regroup. He'll come after you again, and next time we might not be lucky enough to stop him." Trevor met her eyes. "This ends tonight, one way or another." The decision hung in the air. Chun looked between Trevor's determined expression and the tactical realities of the situation. Finally, she nodded. "You ride with my team. But you follow orders exactly. The moment I say you're out, you're out. Clear?" Lily stood abruptly. "Then I'm coming too. You'll need real-time intelligence on their communications. I can monitor and jam their radio frequencies, give your team an advantage." "Absolutely not," Trevor said immediately. "You stay here where it's safe. Dad, I'm not losing you because you didn't have the support you needed. Mom died and we couldn't stop it. But this we can control. Let me help." The pain in her voice cut through every objection Trevor wanted to make. She'd already lost one parent. The thought of losing another terrified her. But her solution was to put herself closer to danger, to ensure she could help protect him. Orlis made the decision. "She comes with me in a secondary vehicle, well back from the action. She provides technical support remotely. That's the compromise." Trevor wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in both their faces. And he knew Lily well enough to understand she'd find a way to follow regardless of what he said. "Stay in the car. No matter what happens." "I promise," Lily said. 30 minutes later, they were rolling west in a convoy of police vehicles. Trevor rode with Chen and 2 tactical officers, checking weapons and reviewing the approach plan. Behind them, Orlis and Lily followed in an unmarked vehicle with 2 plainclothes detectives. The sun was setting, painting the Illinois farmland in shades of amber and crimson. Beautiful and peaceful, a stark contrast to the confrontation ahead. Trevor's phone buzzed. A text from Lily, "Communications intercept. Bowen knows police are coming. He's armed and has at least 6 security personnel with him. Be careful." Chun saw the message and swore quietly. No element of surprise then. This just became significantly more dangerous. Trevor checked his weapon one final time. "Then we'd better be smarter than they are." The airfield appeared on the horizon, a collection of low buildings surrounded by empty fields. A private jet sat on the tarmac, engines already warming up. Figures moved near the hangar, loading luggage. "That's him," Trevor said, recognizing Patrick Bowen's distinctive profile through binoculars. "And he's got an army with him." Chun keyed her radio. "All units, target is confirmed. We move in 3 minutes. Maxwell, you're with Strike Team 2 on the maintenance road approach. Everyone else, standard perimeter formation." The vehicles split up. Trevor's team circled wide, headlights off, using the fading daylight for cover. His heart pounded, but his hands remained steady. This was familiar territory, the calm focus of impending action. They reached the maintenance road and moved on foot, using the hangar for cover. Trevor could hear voices now, urgent conversations. Bowen was shouting orders. His escape was minutes away, then everything erupted. Chun's main force approached from the front, lights flashing, sirens wailing. Bowen's security immediately responded, taking defensive positions. Gunfire cracked across the airfield. "Go." Chun's voice came through the radio. Trevor's team rushed the rear entrance. 2 of Bowen's men guarded the back door, but they were focused on the frontal assault. Trevor and the tactical officers subdued them quickly, efficiently. Inside the hangar, chaos. Bowen was running toward the jet, a gun in his hand. Trevor moved to intercept, shouting, "Patrick Bowen, stop." Bowen turned, weapon raising. Trevor's training took over. He dove behind a fuel cart as shots rang out. The tactical officers returned fire, controlled bursts that forced Bowen behind cover. "It's over, Bowen." Chun's voice echoed through the hangar. She'd entered from the front with her team. "You're surrounded. Drop the weapon." For a moment, silence. Then Bowen's voice, bitter and defeated. "You destroyed everything I built." "You destroyed yourself," Trevor called back. "The moment you decided murder was acceptable business strategy." More silence. Then the gun clattered to the floor. Bowen emerged, hands raised, his face a mask of fury and resignation. Officers swarmed in, securing him and his remaining security personnel. It was over, finished, the threat neutralized. Trevor's phone buzzed. "Lily, you okay?" He typed back, "Safe, coming out now." As they led Bowen away in handcuffs, Trevor felt the adrenaline drain away, replaced by exhaustion and relief. Chun approached, her expression satisfied. "Good work, Maxwell. You should consider joining the force officially." Trevor smiled tiredly. "I think I've had enough excitement for one lifetime." But as he walked back to where Orlis and Lily waited, he knew the real work was just beginning. Not the confrontation, but the healing. The building of something new from the ashes of violence. The ultimate confrontation was over. Victory belonged to justice. The police station downtown buzzed with activity as officers processed Patrick Bowen and his associates. Trevor sat in the conference room, giving his formal statement to a stenographer while Detective Ching listened. His voice was steady, recounting each detail with precision, but exhaustion lined every word. Across the hall, Orlis was doing the same. Through the window, Trevor could see her speaking with federal prosecutors who had arrived within an hour of Bowen's arrest. This case would be massive, involving corporate fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, and likely a dozen other charges that would keep lawyers busy for years. Lily dozed in a chair beside him. Her laptop finally closed, her head resting on Trevor's shoulder. She'd worked nonstop for nearly 24 hours, and her teenage body finally demanded rest. Trevor gently adjusted his position to make her more comfortable, earning a soft murmur of thanks without her fully waking. "That should do it for now," Chun said, reviewing the typed statement. "You'll need to testify eventually, but the evidence is overwhelming." Between Pierce's documents, Lily's digital forensics, and the attempted escape, Bowen's looking at life in prison. What about his company? The employees who had nothing to do with this? "That's above my pay grade," Chun admitted. "But typically, companies survive scandals if the corruption is isolated to leadership. Steinberg Global will probably be restructured, new management brought in. Most people keep their jobs." The door opened and Orlis entered, looking drained but somehow lighter. The weight of immediate danger had lifted, replaced by the long exhale of crisis averted. "The prosecutors are confident," she said, sitting across from Trevor. "They have enough evidence to pursue charges against Bowen and 7 others in his organization. The conspiracy was deeper than we thought. He'd been planning this for almost a year. A year of your life threatened without you even knowing," Trevor said quietly. "But it's over now. Because of you too." Orlis looked at sleeping Lily with fondness. "She's remarkable, you know. The prosecutors told me her digital evidence alone would be enough to convict. She basically built their entire case." Pride swelled in Trevor's chest. "She gets that from her mother. Sarah was a software engineer. Brilliant, methodical, saw patterns nobody else noticed. And where does Lily get her courage?" Trevor had no answer for that. Perhaps courage was learned through necessity, forged in the fire of loss and difficulty. Or perhaps it was simply love, the willingness to risk everything for people who mattered. Chun's phone rang. She answered, listened, then smiled. "That was my captain. The media is already running the story. Billionaire CEO kidnapping attempt foiled, corporate conspiracy exposed. You 3 are about to become very famous." "I don't want fame," Trevor said immediately. "I want to take my daughter home and sleep for a week." "Too late," Chun said, showing him her phone screen. News headlines were already spreading across websites. "Security guard saves CEO. Teen hacker exposes corporate crime. Father-daughter team stops murderous plot. Orlis winced. My publicity team is going to have a field day with this. Though at least the story is positive for once. A knock at the door interrupted them. A young officer entered, carrying a large envelope. Ms. Branville? This was delivered for you by courier. Marked urgent. Orlis opened it carefully, reading the contents. Her expression shifted from curiosity to surprise to something that looked like determination. What is it? Trevor asked. A formal offer from my board of directors. They want to create a new security division within Branville Technologies, focused on identifying and preventing corporate espionage and threats. They're offering you the position of Chief Security Officer. Full executive status, competitive salary, comprehensive benefits. She looked at Trevor. They want you to lead it. Trevor stared at her. I'm a hotel security guard. I'm not qualified to run a corporate division. You stopped a kidnapping, exposed a conspiracy, and coordinated with law enforcement to arrest a dangerous criminal. You did that with no official authority, minimal resources, and a 14-year-old as your only backup. I'd say you're more than qualified. Orlis leaned forward. Trevor, I need people I can trust. People who think differently, who see threats others miss. You've proven you're that person. Dad. Lily had woken up, her eyes bright despite her exhaustion. This is your chance. A real job, doing something important. Say yes. He looked at his daughter, seeing Sarah's confidence reflected in her face. Then at Orlis, who was offering not just a job but a partnership. Then at Detective Chun, who nodded encouragement. I need to think about it, Trevor said finally. This is a big decision. Of course, Orlis said. Take all the time you need. But Trevor, you saved my life. Multiple times. Whatever you decide, you'll always have my gratitude and my friendship. The word friendship hung in the air, carrying weight beyond its simple definition. They'd been through combat together, trusted each other with their lives. That created bonds that went deeper than professional relationships. One condition, Trevor said. Lily gets a full scholarship to any university she wants, and access to whatever resources she needs for her education. Technology mentorship, internship opportunities, everything. Already arranged, Orlis smiled. My board insisted. They're calling her the hero of the hour. Lily blushed, pleased and embarrassed in equal measure. Detective Chun stood, stretching tired muscles. Well, I'm officially off duty as of 10 minutes ago. I suggest you all go home, rest, and deal with everything else tomorrow. You've earned it. They filed out of the conference room into the busy station. Officers nodded respect as they passed. Someone had clearly spread the word about what had happened. Outside, the Chicago night had turned cold and clear. Stars were visible despite the city lights, tiny points of brilliance in the darkness. Trevor breathed deep, feeling tension drain from his shoulders. It was over. Really, truly over. Bowen was in custody, the conspiracy exposed. Justice served. Come on, he said to Lily. Let's go home. Best idea you've had all day, she replied. Orlis walked with them to their Honda, which someone had retrieved from the hospital and brought to the station. Thank you, she said simply. For everything. You're welcome, Trevor replied. Try to stay out of trouble for a while. She laughed. No promises. Trouble seems to find me regardless. As they drove through Chicago's streets toward their modest apartment, Lily spoke quietly. You're going to take the job, right? I don't know yet. It's a lot of responsibility. It's what you're meant to do, Dad. Help people, protect them. You've been wasting yourself on hotel night shifts. This is your chance to do something that matters. From the mouths of teenagers came wisdom. Trevor smiled, reached over to squeeze her hand. We'll see, he said. Right now, I'm just glad we're both safe. Victory tasted like relief exhaustion, and hope. The threat was over. The danger passed. Tomorrow they could think about futures and possibilities. Tonight, they could simply breathe. 3 weeks later, Trevor stood in his new office on the 32nd floor of Bramville Technologies headquarters. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered sweeping views of downtown Chicago, the morning sun painting the buildings in shades of gold and bronze. His nameplate sat on a gleaming desk, Trevor Maxwell, Chief Security Officer. He still felt like an imposter sometimes, wearing tailored suits instead of security uniforms, attending board meetings instead of walking hotel perimeters. But the work was meaningful. He'd already identified 6 potential security vulnerabilities in Bramville's operations and implemented protocols to protect employees from corporate espionage. A knock at his door. Arliss entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She'd made it a ritual to stop by his office each morning, ostensibly to discuss security matters, but really just to talk as friends. "Good morning," she said, settling into the chair across from his desk. "I wanted to thank you again for the report on the Singapore facility. Your recommendations probably saved us from a data breach. Just doing the job you hired me for. It's more than that, and you know it." Orliss's expression turned serious. "Trevor, I've been thinking about what happened 3 weeks ago. How close I came to dying, how everything could have ended. It changed my perspective on a lot of things. Surviving a kidnapping tends to do that. Not just surviving. Being saved. By someone who had no obligation to help me, who risked his life and his daughter's safety for a complete stranger." She paused. "I've built my career on metrics and data, on quantifiable results. But what you gave me can't be measured in spreadsheets. You gave me my life back. You gave me a friend when I didn't know I needed one." Trevor felt uncomfortable with such direct gratitude. "Orliss, you don't owe me anything. I made the choices I made because they felt right. Which is exactly why your friendship matters. You don't operate from obligation or expectation. You act from integrity." She smiled. "That's rare in my world. Worth more than you realize." Before Trevor could respond, his office phone buzzed. His assistant's voice. "Mr. Maxwell, you have a visitor." "A young woman named Lily Maxwell? She says you're expecting her." Trevor grinned. "Send her in." Lily bounded through the door moments later, her backpack slung over one shoulder, excitement radiating from every movement. She'd been given a special access badge that let her visit the building after school, ostensibly for the mentorship program Orliss had arranged, but really because both adults enjoyed her company. "You're not going to believe this," Lily announced without preamble. "Me-T sent me an acceptance letter. Early admission. Full scholarship plus stipend for research projects." Trevor stood, pulling his daughter into a fierce hug. "I'm so proud of you." Fierce hug. "I'm so proud of you." "I haven't even started yet," Lily laughed. "You will. You'll do amazing things." Trevor held her at arm's length, seeing not just his teenage daughter, but the brilliant woman she was becoming. "Your mom would be so proud." Tears glistened in Lily's eyes. "I wish she could see this. All of it. The job you got, the people we helped, the way everything turned out." "She sees," Trevor said softly. "Somehow I think she sees." Arliss had been watching them with an expression Trevor was learning to recognize. Loneliness, perhaps, or longing for the kind of connection she'd missed while building her empire. She'd told him once that success had cost her personal relationships, that boardrooms and balance sheets had replaced family and friendship. "Lily," Orliss said, "I have a proposition for you. Bramville Technologies is launching a scholarship program for young women in STEM fields. We need someone to help design the curriculum and selection criteria. Someone who understands what talented students need to succeed. Would you be interested in consulting on the project? Really? You want my input on an official program?" You exposed a criminal conspiracy with nothing but a laptop and determination. I'd say your input is valuable." Lily's face glowed with pride and purpose. "Yes, absolutely yes." As the three of them talked through ideas for the scholarship program, Trevor felt something shift inside him. This was what healing looked like. Not forgetting Sarah or pretending the pain of her loss didn't exist, but building something new alongside the grief. Creating purpose and meaning from tragedy. His phone buzzed. A text from Detective Chun. "Bowen's trial date set for next month. You'll need to testify. Also, the department is giving you a civilian commendation for your assistance. Ceremony next week. Bring Lily." Trevor showed the message to Orlis and Lily. Recognition, official acknowledgement of what they'd accomplished together. "We should celebrate," Orlis suggested. "A proper dinner. All of us. No talk of work or danger, just friends enjoying a meal." "Friends," Trevor repeated, liking the sound of that word. He'd been so focused on survival and providing for Lily that friendship had seemed like a luxury he couldn't afford. Now he understood it was a necessity. That evening, they gathered at a small Italian restaurant Orlis knew, tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. The food was excellent, the atmosphere warm. They talked about everything and nothing. Lily's college plans, Trevor's adjustment to corporate life, Orlis's upcoming trip to speak at a technology conference. Normal conversation. Simple friendship. The kind of evening that 3 weeks ago would have seemed impossible. As they walked out into the cool Chicago night. Lily between the two adults. Trevor felt something he hadn't experienced in 3 years. Contentment. Not happiness exactly, because Sarah's absence would always ache, but a sense that life could be good again, that new chapters could be written without erasing the past. "Thank you," he said to Orlis. "For the job, the opportunity, everything you've given us." "You saved my life," she replied simply. "This is the least I could do. Besides, I'm getting a brilliant security officer and a genius consultant out of the deal. If anything, I should be thanking you." Lily looked up at both of them. "Can I say something sappy without you two getting weird about it?" "Probably not, but try anyway," Trevor said, smiling. "You know how people say things happen for a reason? I never believed that. When Mom died, I couldn't see any reason for it. It just felt cruel and random." She took a breath. "But meeting Orlis, stopping those bad people, everything that's happened since, it feels like maybe we were supposed to be here. Like maybe we were supposed to help." "We were," Orlis said firmly. "And I'm grateful every day that you two were there when I needed you most." They stood together on the Chicago sidewalk, 3 people bound by trauma and trust, looking toward futures that were brighter than any of them had imagined weeks before. Transformation came quietly, Trevor realized. Not in grand dramatic moments, but in small daily choices. The choice to act instead of walking away. The choice to accept help instead of suffering alone. The choice to build new connections instead of hiding behind grief. They'd all been transformed. Trevor from grieving widower to purposeful protector. Lily from lonely teenager to recognized talent. Orlis from isolated billionaire to someone with genuine friends. And somehow, impossibly, they'd become family. Not by blood, but by choice, forged in fire and sealed with trust. The gratitude he felt was almost overwhelming. For second chances. For unexpected partnerships. For the mysterious ways courage and kindness could reshape entire lives. "Come on," Trevor said, his arms around both Lily and Orlis. "Let's go home." Home meant different things now. Not just a place, but people. Not just safety, but connection. They walked together into the Chicago night. 3 hearts bound by extraordinary circumstances, ready for whatever came next. The transformation was complete. Gratitude had replaced fear. In life, despite everything, was good again. 6 months later, Trevor stood on the rooftop terrace of Branville Technologies headquarters. watching the sunrise paint Chicago's skyline in shades of pink and gold. The city was waking up below, thousands of lives beginning another day, unaware of the quiet miracles unfolding around them. Behind him, the rooftop door opened. Lily emerged, carrying 2 cups of coffee, her MIT acceptance letter framed and mounted on her bedroom wall at home. But her decision to defer for a year to work on the scholarship program she'd helped design. She'd grown in these months, not just physically but in confidence and purpose. "Thought you might be up here," she said, handing him a cup. "Big day today." Trevor smiled. The scholarship announcement. 50 students across 10 cities. Full funding for 4 years of university, plus mentorship and internship programs. It's bigger than I ever imagined. It's what happens when brilliant people decide to help instead of hoard, Lily said, leaning against the railing beside him. Arliss told me last night that the program is already changing lives. One girl from the South Side, exactly my age, is going to study aerospace engineering because of this opportunity. The door opened again. Arliss stepped onto the terrace, dressed professionally but with a softness to her expression that hadn't existed before. She joined them at the railing, completing their small circle. "Beautiful morning," she observed. "Feels appropriate for what we're announcing today." The scholarship program was just one part of the transformation that had rippled outward from that foggy night 6 months ago. Branville Technologies had restructured its entire security division based on Trevor's recommendations. Patrick Bowen was serving a 20-year sentence for conspiracy and attempted murder. Steinberg Global Solutions had been acquired by a competitor, with protections ensuring employees kept their jobs, but the bigger changes were personal. Trevor had a career that mattered, using his skills to protect people on a larger scale. Lily had purpose and direction, her gifts recognized and nurtured. And Arliss had found something she'd been missing for years: genuine human connection. "I've been thinking," Arliss said quietly, "about how different my life would be if Trevor hadn't been working that extra shift. If he'd looked away when those men approached. If he'd decided it wasn't his problem." "But I didn't," Trevor said simply. "Because that's not who I am. That's not who any of us are." "Exactly," Arliss agreed. "And that's the message I want to share today. Not just about the scholarship program, but about the power of showing up. Of paying attention when others ignore. Of acting when action is needed." Lily pulled out her phone, showing them the social media response to the morning's press release. Thousands of comments, stories from people inspired by what had happened, donations to the scholarship fund pouring in from strangers who wanted to help. "Look at this one," Lily said, reading aloud. "A security guard in Seattle stopped a robbery last week because he remembered reading about Dad. He said if Trevor Maxwell could save a CEO, he could protect his store." Trevor felt emotion tighten his throat. His actions had inspired others to act. The ripple effect of one decision, one moment of courage, spreading outward in ways he'd never anticipated. "Your mother would love this," Arliss said to Lily, then looked at Trevor. "Both of you honoring her memory by making the world better." "She taught me that kindness matters," Lily said. "That one person can make a difference. I didn't really understand it until all this happened. Until I saw Dad risk everything for someone he'd never met." The sun cleared the horizon now, flooding the terrace with warm light. Below, Chicago sparkled with promise, millions of stories unfolding simultaneously, each one carrying potential for extraordinary moments. "We should get downstairs," Arliss said. "The press conference starts in an hour." But they lingered a moment longer, the 3 of them standing together in the golden light. A single father who'd found purpose beyond survival. A brilliant teenager who discovered her voice. A powerful woman who'd learned that vulnerability and connection were strengths, not weaknesses. "Thank you," Trevor said to both of them, "for giving me a reason to hope again. For showing me that life after loss can still be beautiful." Arliss took his hand. Lily took his other hand. They stood connected, literally and figuratively, watching their city wake to possibility. Here's to new beginnings, Orlis said. To courage, Lily added. To showing up, Trevor finished. To showing up, Trevor finished. They walked together toward the door, toward the day's responsibilities and opportunities, toward a future none of them could have imagined 6 months ago. The sunrise followed them, light chasing away shadows, warmth replacing cold dot in that moment. Trevor understood the truth Sarah had always known. That kindness finds its way. That ordinary people can do extraordinary things. That love, in all its forms, was the miracle that transformed strangers into family and fear into hope. The new dawn had arrived. Not with drama or fanfare, but with gentle, undeniable truth. Life was precious. Connection mattered. And showing up when others walked away could change everything. They descended from the rooftop together, ready to share their story with the world, ready to inspire others to act, ready to prove that courage and compassion could still win. The beginning of something beautiful had come, and it would never end. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever witnessed someone show extraordinary courage in an ordinary moment? Share your story in the comments below. If this tale inspired you, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another story of hope, bravery, and the remarkable power of human kindness. Thank you for being part of this journey with us. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.